Okay, excellent. Having reached 8:30, I'd like to call the Law and Government Liquor meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Van Hoff.
Present.
Sullivan.
Here.
Kunkel.
Here.
Sager.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
Shorten.
Here.
Althoff.
Here. May I have a motion to allow Mr. Shorten, Mr. Sager to attend by electronic, seconded by Ms. Van Hoff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Welcome, Michael, you're official.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the minute approval. Ms. Campbell makes the motion, seconded by Mr. Kunkel. Are there any discussions, Ms. Campbell?
Yeah, just a couple of corrections. So on page 7, under 10.1, you'll see it. It has under sheriff, Bucci should be there, not just under sheriff, and then remove chief. There was a mistake with the I think. And then, so you see it in page, it's like the first full paragraph under 10.1. And then on page 8, which is the last page, basically look at last paragraph. I'm not sure what ALAC seed means. If you could just look at that paragraph and clean it up. I don't know what, just for clarity.
She's listening.
Perfect, thank you. That's it.
With those amendments, again, Ms. Campbell, Mr. Kunkel, can we have a roll call for the minutes then, please?
Sullivan.
Yes.
Van Hoff.
Yes.
Sager.
Yes.
Kunkel.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes.
Althoff.
Yes. There is no public comment.
Nobody signed up, last call. Dan, would Penny like to make some public comment? Good.
Seeing no public comment, we'll go on to member comments.
Yeah, I would just like to comment.
Yes, please, Ms. Hall.
We were at Valley High the other day for the memory care opening. So it was just such a pleasure to be there and to see it completed. And, you know, we've been there, some of us who are on the committee, month to month, and just the changes that happened in the last 30 days were just tremendous. It was a beautiful reception. The omelette was
Fantastic.
You know, I mean,
It was really good.
It's always about the food.
Wow.
It's always about the food.
So they learned the trick, you know, whenever you do something like this, you always have food, right? And it was delicious, and we just got such a nice reception, so it's a pleasure to be
Thank
here.
you. Mr. Sager, did you have something?
Yeah, I have an update on the transit efforts that are going on in Springfield. I don't need to make those right now, but if you have time later on, let's do that.
Ms. Nardulli's going to join us this session as well. She'll be on in a little
Great.
bit, and you and Alicia and Shaylin can have the floor at that time.
Thank you much.
Also, I would like your permission to move up one of our agenda items on the consent agenda in the event that you have any questions. It's item Dan Quick 7.4.
Yeah.
7.4. Mr. Walls is not going to be able to be with us past 9 o'clock. So I was going to ask him real quickly to come up if you had any questions specifically about that. We will not take action, but he can answer your questions, and we'll keep it on the consent agenda when it comes up. Dan, do you have anything you want to say just to clarify?
So the electronic monitoring, GPS and alcohol monitoring is all court order. Anybody who gets arrested under the Pretrial Fairness Act and is held in the McHenry County Jail is subjected to a validated risk assessment that probation officers perform. Based on that score, recommendations are made to the judge. The judge then orders whether or not somebody is held on GPS or electronic monitoring. They do get credit for that. So like I said, it's very similar to being incarcerated. You get time served credit. We budgeted $200,000 for this at the beginning of the year. We're bringing this forward now because the expenditure is going to be over $30,000. We're spending about $12,000 a month on electronic monitoring.
Any questions at this time? Anybody want to say, where's Honey?
I had her stay back there.
Oh, okay. And she's doing real well with her training too. It's nice to see her.
Yes, actually, we're actually doing training right now.
Excellent.
We're using this as a training exercise, but she did pass her certification test.
Any questions,
So
Ms.
just so
Karen?
the 12,000 per month is just kind of like the average, or?
That's the average.
That's the
Sometimes it's
average.
16, sometimes it's 9. It just depends on what shows up. I made a joke this morning in court admin, we don't have signs inviting people to come here because of criminal offenses. They just show up and we have to deal with them.
Okay.
Thank you. No
So
other
is
questions?
that pretty much on budget then? with what
We're
was
actually
budgeted?
about 150,000 if we follow the average.
Mhm.
But we do have that stopgap of 200,000, that if we hit that, then obviously we would be back.
Okay, all right.
Thank you very much. We really
Excellent.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And thank you for the courtesy to
I apologize.
allow Dan to address us at this particular point.
Go.
Now, new business, we've got two liquor license changes in front of us this morning. I'm going to ask Jen, Mel, Patricia, and Megan, you want to come up to the table? Maybe take these two chairs right here. And if you could introduce yourselves and then explain the changes and why they're necessary, et cetera.
Sure, I'll do it. I'm Trish, this is Megan. I have owned the gin mill for 10 years. This will be my 11th liquor license and I'm tired. So I'm ready to start transitioning away from being fully in charge of the business. Megan is going to be stepping in and start running the day-to-day stuff so I can focus on, I don't know, my grandson and other stuff.
And I'm Megan. I've lived in McHenry County for 8 years. I have 5 kids, 10 being the oldest and 9 months being my youngest. So I'm excited for this next step in my career. My mom lives with me now, so I have a little bit more free time to get away. And yeah, I've been in the service industry for my whole working life, anything from serving, busing, bartending, managing, running my own business, mobile bar business. My spouse passed away in 2021, so when he was gone, I kind of had to come up with different ways to make money. And so this is really exciting if you guys will allow this opportunity for me to move forward.
Thank you very, very much. You got excellent, as we talked earlier, you got excellent letters of recommendation that were submitted on your behalf, so. Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, Mr. Sager?
So this is perfunctory basically because we're just adding Mega to the ownership list. And so this is why the entity is here before us today. But obviously, Tricia, you have a great reputation there. Everything's been going very well. No major concerns or anything like that. As a new owner, I would just say, Megan, that you are very familiar with all of the restrictions and requirements for liquor licenses and the responsibilities that are entailed. Liquor licenses are not a right, but they are a privilege. And so you're entering now into that ownership arena, and you have then, and therefore, a lot of responsibilities, not the least of which is to make sure that the entity does not serve or sell to underage individuals, that you don't sell after hours as prescribed by the county ordinances, and that you don't overserve anyone or allow anyone to become inordinately inappropriate within the establishment or anything like that. So you're very much aware of those types of responsibilities. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Then I just want to make sure that you understand that the county takes its responsibility very seriously in that regard. We pass that responsibility to you as now a new owner, and we are grateful for your investment in the county, but we also want you to know that with this opportunity comes significant responsibility to assist us in upholding the laws that we have. Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
It's a standard speech we give all liquor license holders. So don't think it was special. The next group, stick around. And the only thing I'll add to Mr. Sager's statement is if you do have difficulty or if you need assistance, please let us know. We're here to help as well. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Officially added. Thank you very much. And we wish you well.
Yes.
Thank you. Come visit.
And the next item on the agenda is, I believe, Family Food Mart. Sam and Mahal, tell me how I pronounced it.
Pam, over to your voting on Jim.
Oh, we have to vote on it?
Typically you do.
Okay, I apologize. Can I have a motion to approve the previous license for the gin mill
I'll make
with the
the motion.
changes? Ms. Van Hoff, seconded by Mr. Kunkel. Roll call. Thank you, Kathy, I'm sorry.
Campbell,
Yes.
Sager,
Yes.
Kunkel,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Van Hoff,
Yes,
Shorten,
Yes.
Altough.
Yes. Okay, now that that's officially over, you're up. Again, introduce yourselves, tell us why the change in license is necessary, and then we'll open it up to questions from anybody on the board.
Yeah, my name is
Thanks.
Sam Saw. His name is
My name is Rahul Patel.
Yeah, I'm in McHenry County almost 25 years. This is my, I think, 11th liquor license. And I'm in McHenry County. I have the village market. Sam is bar and gaming in Wonder Lake. So this one we just come out when we bought it 2 years ago. This really small store, and they need a really lot of work. So when we started remodeling, I said, okay, we put in a new cooler, we put expand the building, and then we have little rooms. I said, why not we just changing the license and put a gaming? So we have a little small room. So we put a we remodeling whole store. We put almost over 200,000, change the whole parking lot and everything. So, and just little extra incomes. And the help with all other stuff. We do a lot of sponsor with all the community to just help out other paid out and all the stuff.
And it's a requirement that if you do have slots, that this is the type of liquor license that you must hold. So it's obviously just a change. We've had no problems with any of the operations. In fact, we're very pleased to have Sam part of our community. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, Mr. Sager?
So Sam, if you could, you were changing the license classification. So if you could just identify for us what your perception of that change in classification is.
This is changes because we want to, like, we expense money, so we want to put like little extra room. We have a room, and it's when it's a gaming, it's a help paid out all expense and all everything, just little extra incomes. So.
And so you are familiar then with the additional fees that are associated with the gaming license?
Yeah.
Added on to this.
Yeah.
So any questions that you have about that?
No.
All right. Just as we talked before, of course, the county board and our staff take it very seriously with liquor licenses. You've been a successful license holder for many, many years at a variety of businesses, and so we're grateful for that. We know that you've been diligent in that regard, and we just want to make sure that as you take this next step then at the Family Food Mart, that you're equally committed to upholding the laws with regards to not selling to minors. As you go into the gaming, of course, there are additional restrictions, and we want to make sure that you're aware of those restrictions in terms of a separate area that is designated for gaming, and that gaming is restricted to individuals who are 21 years of age and older, and that you will assume responsibility for making sure that not only are you not selling to minors, but also that you're prohibiting minors from participating in the gaming area. Do you understand that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and
Yes.
you understand that as well. Okay, very good. And the last thing I would just indicate is that there are hours of operation associated with proper operations, and you are aware of those restrictions in terms of hours. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And finally, I just want to say, with regards to gaming, you know, it kind of takes an extra set of eyes, if you will, because this is an ongoing business, and people will be coming in, as you're aware, and enjoying the games, enjoying the slots, and staying in that regard. But you do have to kind of keep an extra set of eyes on that above and beyond the liquor area. So, is that going to be in an area that is readily observable?
Yes.
Easy for you all to see and to supervise or oversee, correct?
Yeah, when we done a remodeling, we done the exactly separate, which we can see exactly perfectly.
Okay, and you can see that from
In the
the
counter.
from the clerk area, though,
Yeah.
you can see that. Okay, very good. Well, again, we're pleased that you've been a part of our business community for many, many years, and we look forward to now this expansion at the Family Food Mart under your supervision. Thank you.
And is that a motion to approve the
It
liquor
is.
license as presented? Seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Can we have a roll call, please?
Kunkel,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Van Hoff,
yes.
Sager,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Shorten,
Yes.
Altough.
Yes. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Congratulations.
We're excited about the expansion.
Yes.
More tax dollars.
I was, thank you, so I wasn't going to say that, but.
It's all right, I will. Moving on, we now have the interviews for many of our fire protection districts. The first individual up is Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, can I invite you to come and have a seat? It is for the McHenry Township Fire Protection District. We also have in the audience Fire Chief as well as the President of the Board. You're just here to watch, right?
Can I hand out some?
Please, please. And in the event we have
Can I
questions.
enter the in for saying?
Yes, you may.
I want to make sure I'm not crossing the boundary.
Just don't trip over the inner sanctum.
Just
tread lightly.
We can't guarantee another
It's good to see
electric
you.
shock.
I have no guarantee. It's good to see you again, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Watch
you.
your step, please.
I will.
And I will remind everyone that previously we have had the McHenry Township Fire Protection District attend our committee and review their strategic plan and let us know what their obstacles, their challenges, as well as their successes. That was not a year ago, maybe? Was that a year ago? So, Mr. Bennett, if you want to kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your service in the fire district, and then any other highlights that you want to make with regard to your strategic plan.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for taking the time, allow us to come in here every 3 years. It's a privilege to come here and sort of brag about the McHenry Township Fire Protection District. You can see we have the president of the trustees behind me and also the fire chief. We're very proud of our organization. I was born and raised in McHenry. Woodstock Hospital no longer exists. I went to school here. I went away to college. My father passed away at the age of 49. Came home, took over the family business. Joined the fire department as a volunteer when I was 22 years old. Sold my business to the present employer that I work with now for the last 50 years. In the fire service, I started out as a firefighter. Went on to become a lieutenant, a captain, assistant chief, and I was appointed chief for 16 years. And it's been a passion of my life. It's one of the most rewarding things I have ever done, other than have 2 daughters, in that the decisions we make are life-changing, life savings, and we see immediate success. And it's proud to be a part of our department. I've given you the annual report in front of you. We also gave you our strategic plan, of which I'm proud to say that we've completed about 90% of the first year. We have a gentleman that we have used to assist us, Dr. Bender. He's coming out of Michigan. He'll be coming out shortly to go through again and review it. But in front of you, we have that. That's a lot of paperwork, but this is the most important piece of paper that I have. And I'm going to pass this out to you, if you don't mind, in a moment. But these are all the fire departments in McHenry County. McHenry Township Fire Protection District responded to almost 8,000 calls last year. Our tax rate is the 3rd lowest, and we're extremely proud about that. We receive about $9 million in tax funds. We charge for ambulance transportation charges. The district is very proud of that also, in that we send you, if you're a local resident in McHenry, you've lived there your life or whatever, and we send you a bill for ambulance transportation charge. I believe it's $2,500 that the state allows us. We send you 3 invoices. If you don't pay, we don't collect. So it's like we help our residents. So we will not turn you over to a collection agency. It will not affect your billing at all. But we're going to be faced with some major problems in the future, not only our department, other departments. We can't find people, and that's men and female firefighters. Right now, it costs us approximately $120,000 a year to put on a full-time firefighter. We still have 50 part-time. Am I going to clock? Going to come down, or a dog going to bite me when I'm done talking?
Soon today, we're going to call Honey back in.
You can see I'm a little bit enthusiastic about our organization. We can't find people. 120,000. One of the issues we have, and this is maybe something that the county could look at in the future. After my work, I have pipe fitters, plumbers, sheet electricians. So I have 597 fitters. From Wisconsin border to Indiana, no matter who they work for, they get paid the same price. Whether they work for me, they work for your organization, same price. In the fire service, we compete against each other. McHenry County has, how many fire departments, Chief? 16. We're all competing against for the same people. So if we raise $1, Algonquin or some other fire department could raise $2. Not only that, but all the departments surrounding in Lake and Cook County. So hopefully someday there'll be one negotiating group for all the fire departments so we don't run into this, because we just lose them. We just had a firefighter, the chief was swearing in 3 new firefighters the other day. We went through all the training. The day before he was sworn in, he went to another fire department. And they leave us for, believe it or not, 24/48. They leave us for more time off, or they leave us for a little bit more money. And so it's a constant problem that we are faced with. The other problem we're going to be faced with in the very near future, we're very financially, I'm the treasurer, solid. Our organization has a substantial amount of money. We pay cash for everything. A fire engine cost $1.5 million. We just ordered 2. We paid for it. We're building a new station across from the hospital. It'll be Station 6. It'll be the second busiest station we have. That'll cost $6 million. We have the money to pay for it. We're not going back. But being number 2 or 3 on the list here, because of the laws, we can only increase a certain amount. We have 3,000 new residents coming in, and if you take a look at the map, and you are all familiar with it, McHenry County is one of the few counties in the state of Illinois that is growing. We are going to have 3,000 new residents in our fire district within the next 2 years. We are the busiest today. That's 8,000. We're probably going to jump, and the chief could have more information on that, but we're going to be jumping probably 3 or 4% next year, 4 or 5% the following year. And so we're going to be faced with having, again, our ratio is 50-50. We're going to have to hire more full-time. Is my time out?
3 months.
Okay, I'm done. I'm looking for any questions.
You all have to
can
know
see-
that I have known Chris for over 35 years.
Lastly, though, I would like to encourage your chairman has been most gracious in coming to our fire department to see our fire department. The chief, myself, would be willing to have any of you ever stop by. We would love to give you an hour tour and show you what we do, because we're very proud. And thank you for your time. And I'm sorry I talked too long.
That's okay. You're going to build on top of this, correct, Chief?
You want afterwards?
Afterwards. We're going to do it afterwards, but I want you to build on top of this.
Want to go as long as
No. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Bennett? Mr. Sire?
You want to join?
I'd love to. First off, thank you so much for your service over these many, many years. We're grateful, and obviously it's more than just I work in service. It's a truly volunteer effort, but you have your heart and soul in that. We're most grateful for that. McHenry Township Fire Protection District is the second best in the whole county, only after Woodstock, of course.
I failed to mention that. I apologize.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to, kind of knock you down a little bit for that, but anyway, I appreciate that. Pensions. What is your situation today with pensions?
That's a great question. Our pension program.
Mr. Bennett, short. This is his favorite subject.
We're in great shape. We're in great shape.
You are.
We are 150% overfunded.
Great.
That's great, and it's not great. I'm going to explain why very quickly. The pension program in the state of Illinois is a disaster, and it is a spiral downward, and it will not change unless the laws change. 3% compound cannot be maintained. Our fire district right now is 150% overfunded. 15 years from now, and most people don't consider themselves, I'm not going to be here 15 years from now. I'm not going to be sitting in front of you. If I was, I'm going to be pretty old. It won't be well. No matter what we do, unless the laws changed, our 150% will be underfunded in 15 to 20 years. It's a fact of life. There's $140 billion deficit in the state of Illinois. It's not going to get any better. The politicians have to change it. I'm not a politician. Hopefully we can change it. One thing that would help, seriously, is getting an equal pay within McHenry County for the firefighters. The pension programs are going to be a problem with every fire department, and we can't fix it. Our 150 plus in 20 years will not be positive.
So the underlying question is, are you continuing to contribute to the pension fund, or do you rely right now upon growth?
No, we contribute to the fund. We put $700,000 into last year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much.
Anything else?
Any,
Real quick.
Ms.
Well, and I
Kim?
won't ask a lot of questions. Thank you very much for everything and the information, and I'll take you up on that tour. But are these pension funds individually managed by her district?
I wish they were. Ours
Okay,
was.
so that it's overall.
It's
Okay,
no
used to
longer
be.
the governor of our state took it away from us and the politicians, so we no longer have control over it. We have our money in there, our $12 million in there, but we do not control.
Okay. All right, thank you.
They consolidated those
Yeah,
funds.
that's what I thought they did.
Right.
I didn't pass these sheets out. I'll give them.
Oh, that'd be great.
Can I ask you to give them to Kathy?
I'll
And
give
Kathy
them
will
to
go ahead and
Kathy.
make sure that we get. Any-
Again, if anybody wants to apply, we're happy
Thank you.
to have you.
This is a continuing story.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, and you are more than welcome to stick around. We'll do our deliberations after all of our interviews, but we have several interviews in between.
Thank you for
And
the time.
obviously, there is one applicant, one vacancy. I think you're a shoo-in. Just, you know, I'm just guessing, I'm just guessing.
Some rigorous debate here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett, we really appreciate it. Next on our agenda is Scott Logan, who is here from the Harvard Fire Protection District. Remind the committee that we appointed Scott in 2022, was it? Right. So do you want to introduce yourself, Scott, and kind of give us an update on where Harvard is? And I understand there's a referendum you might want to talk a little bit about.
Yes, my name is Scott Logan. I have been on the Harvard Fire Protection District Board of Trustees for 3 years. The past 2 years I have served as president of the board. Yes, we are running a referendum next week. Money has been very, very tight. We need money for equipment. We've got an engine that needs to be replaced. We aren't short on equipment, but this equipment has a limited lifespan. We also need personnel. Again, we're not short, but if we had more personnel, we can respond faster. We can also respond to Mavis calls, which generally speaking right now we don't, because we just don't have the equipment and the manpower. I'm rather proud of how the board as a whole has turned around. I did go to a couple of board meetings before I was a member, and there were problems. The board, they were not very cohesive. That has changed in the last couple of years. I'm not going to say we all agree, because we don't, but we're all working for the best of the district. I actually had a conversation with one of our command personnel a week ago, off duty, just, you know, shooting the bull. And he made the comment that with the new board, with the board that we have now, he doesn't feel like he needs to go to the board meetings anymore. He used to, because there were so many problems. Now, he hears what's going on after the fact from the chief, deputy chief, and he's confident that we're all on the right path.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your chief situation? Just we've got new members of the committee, so
Yeah,
please, thank you.
We have, we no longer call him an interim chief. We have a part-time chief. We actually share him with Marengo, John Kimmel. Don Carlson's our deputy chief, and he takes care of the day-to-day operations. John is our executive. He's done a fantastic job to the point that for about the last 2 years, we've had a line on our agenda every meeting, new chief. And we finally, a couple of months ago, took that off because we are satisfied with how John is doing. We've talked to the Marengo trustees. They are satisfied with the arrangement that we have, and it's working out very well.
And we have invited Chief Kimmel and yourself to appear hopefully next month to kind of give us a bigger, broader perspective of what's going on at Harvard and exactly to address the issue that you're very diplomatically referencing. So, anything else you would like to share at this particular time?
Unlike a lot of trustees, I am not from the fire service. I'm a businessman. I run a small business in Harvard, family business. Started 110 years ago. So I bring a different viewpoint to the board than people who have been in the fire service, you know, their whole lives. Nothing against them, and I very much appreciate their viewpoint, but I think it's a very good idea to have different viewpoints on the board.
Any questions for Scott? Michael, do you have any? I don't want you to think I've forgotten you.
Yeah, thank you.
And as you heard earlier, we will deliberate after we conclude all of our interviews. You are welcome to stay. Otherwise, Kathy will let you know what the end result is. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Again, the next up, Joel, do you want to come up? This is also for one of the vacancies on the Harvard Fire Protection District.
Yes.
Good morning, Joel. Do you want to, again, kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you're interested in the vacancy and serving on the board, please?
Yeah, my name's Joel Brouillette. I actually applied a couple of years ago. I didn't apply last year because there wasn't any openings that I was aware of. This year, I wasn't sure if one of the guys was going to leave or not. With the conflict of interest I put in for it, it turns out that they're not leaving. So I'm just going through the motions today. I'm not here to take somebody's job or anything, but if there is an opening, I am interested. I have lived in Crystal Lake most of my life, and then I moved to Harvard a little over 20 years ago. For the last 37 years, I have owned my own property management business. I've managed over 100 rentals in McHenry County, Winnebago County, and DeKalb County. I have probably seen my sign if I say my name, but for the last 34 years, I've also been employed with Nicor Gas, where I work closely with the Commerce Commission on the pipeline division. So part of my jobs there is I respond to natural gas fires or structure fires that pertain to natural gas. We've had a few of those in the county over the last few years. So other things I do, I joined the fire department back when I was in high school. I joined both Crystal Lake and Nunda Fire Department back when I was 18. And I worked my way up there from engineer, lieutenant, all the way to captain, and then I finally became shift commander when we finally had a shift commander back then. I figure during those years I probably attended 115 trustee meetings because I was in charge of purchasing equipment and radios and dive equipment. I was also the dive master for McHenry County for a very short time, a few years, along with Dan Gould from Woodstock. I know you like Woodstock.
I have a propensity, yeah.
Most of my fire training was from Chief Parker's brother, I believe, was a chief in Libertyville back in the day. So I took a lot of my training from Lake County because McHenry County didn't have a fire science program. They had it, but it just wasn't what it is today. They didn't have a smoke tower or anything like that. So I come from a family of firefighters. My grandpa was a chief up in Racine, Wisconsin. My uncle was a lieutenant up there. My mom was actually a firefighter, and my son's following footsteps slowly. Not sure if he wants to do that yet or not. For me, I was there for 23 years, and it came down to a decision between Nicor and the fire department. I spent too much time away. I was late for work a lot. The Fox River Grove bus accident kind of did me in. I got hauled in a few meetings there. I found some people that were in fires that were murdered. Again, I'm held there for a while. Can't leave, can't go to work. Crime scenes. So eventually I had to make a decision to leave the fire department because the gas company told me either go there or go here. Well, I wasn't a full-time person, so I had to leave. Not really my choice, wasn't happy about it. Part of my life that I just kind of really miss and want to get back into it. I'm interested in being a trustee. I've thought about it for probably a good 10 years since I've been to Harvard. times have simmered down for me. My kids are older, have a lot of free time. Bought a house, I'm very happy with it. I live up in Alden area. Like what I do, but I still miss the fire department. I thought about joining. Hebron's made me an offer of $0. Harvard, I did apply and never did join. I thought about going back to Crystal Lake also, but I don't know if it's gonna work for me anymore. But I love the trustee idea. I'd like to get back into that. I'd like to help out Harvard if I could in smoothing out some of their bumps that they have, that they've been going through. Yes, I want to give back to the community. I know everybody always says that. But one thing I do want to bring back is when I joined the fire department, it was fun. And slowly over those 23 years, it got to be a business. It wasn't like what it was. I think I started out making $5 an hour. $5 a call, I should say, which could go on for 8, 12 hours, you know, and you walk away at $5, it's supposed to pay for your jeans, is what I was told that you're gonna destroy. I'd like to bring it back to people like myself joining in high school, and, you know, as soon as you turn 18, you're on, I don't know if that's even allowed anymore. Maybe 21 might be the law. I know some town, Crystal Lake, I believe, is 21 to join now. But that was something I thought that everybody, as myself and a lot of the people that joined with me, really liked. And we went down there for Super Bowl parties, we went down there for dances, we went down there for any kind of event there was. We just had Friday night get-togethers. It was a family thing. And that's the part that I think I missed. When I went to Crystal Lake, it was more like a business. People there were now full-time, it was a job. You know, not everybody liked each other. And I believe that's the way things are going from what I see. And I know Chris Bennett was just talking about money. Yeah, that's a definite issue. And I was never in it for the money. I didn't leave making a ton of money. I wasn't there for the money ever. I just liked it. They did call me the station Dalmatian back when I was 18 because I just never left. But I liked it there. There was always something to do. People were very nice. I got to change oil on a fire truck, 28 quarts of oil. And I did wreck my $5 in jeans that day. So. I watched departments in the community for over the last 40 years slowly, and I believe that Harvard has strong potential to be one of the largest and best fire departments if it's structured early on. And I don't know which way it's going right now. I'm not into the finances and stuff. I watched, I think every fire department in McHenry County built a new fire station in the last 30 some years, except for Union. I think they're still sitting on the same station. But I think I've seen everybody build new fire stations now. When I got on Nunda, they had a little 4-door bay, and now it's the same place, but it's just a lot bigger fire station. Crystal Lakes has been knocked down and turned over several times. So basically, I would be interested in the trustee position, and if you have any questions, I know you do.
You're obviously very well qualified, so we appreciate you offering to volunteer and serve in this capacity. Anyone have any questions for Joel? It's very thorough.
Thank you.
Again, thank you very much. It's going to be a difficult decision for us. As you know, there are 3 applicants, 2 vacancies, 2 returning incumbents, and yourself, sir. So again, you're welcome to stay while we deliberate, but we have another 2 interviews before we deliberate. Okay?
Okay.
So thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Laura, you're there on camera, electronically?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Following the same pattern, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your service on the board and anything else that you think would be pertinent with regard to where Harvard has come from where it was, and maybe even touch on the referendum a bit if you'd like to do that for us.
Okay. Well, my name is Laura Evers. I've been in Harvard for 25 years. I've been a trustee since 2019, at which time I was the treasurer. And I've been the treasurer ever since then. I would like to serve 1 more term, and I would like to transition the treasurer position to someone else before I leave, if you so see that. I'm really proud of how the department has come around and how the board works together now. Like Scott said, we don't always agree, but we work together and we understand our roles. And we understand that the chief and the deputy chief run the department, and we take care of the finances. I really like that John is there full-time now, and it's not an interim. We're committed to keep him till the end of April of 26, at which time we will renegotiate or see what other options there are. Harvard, like everybody else, has a really hard time with staffing. We are a part-time department. Our people don't get benefits, so we lose out to everyone. They start with us and they move on to bigger and better things. It's a challenge. So I guess that's it.
And that's one of the reasons why you're running the referendum, right, is that you need the additional capital.
Oh, yeah.
Does any, I'll just note that way back in 2019, Laura was the individual who, when we were interviewing her to take a position on the board, drew to our attention some of the challenges that Harvard was facing at the time. And we've been following and working with them throughout the past several years. And it really has turned around. The board is much more professional, engaged, collaborative. And you're right, you don't always agree on everything, but you do agree that you work together for the benefit of all the constituents that you serve. So I appreciate that much, Laura. Any questions? Mr. Sager.
Now, Laura, can you tell me just a little bit about the referendum history over the last, we'll say, 15 years? You've gone out for referendums before.
Yes, this is they did it in, I think, in the late 90s, and then we did it again last year, and it failed by 202 votes. And this year, there's been a more organized
and robust.
Yes, yeah, much more robust, and it's nice to see that the taxpayers and the citizens understand the importance of having a fire protection district in their community, and everybody's been very supportive. Unlike last time. Last time people didn't understand. They still think we're part of the city. They think we're, well, why doesn't the city take care of this? Or, and they don't understand the taxing bodies. So, I don't know, it's just been very different this time.
Well,
I'm very optimistic.
Yeah, I'm good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. It's a week from today. And so do you have a strong organized opposition that is prevalent within the community today?
No.
Okay.
I don't see any opposition.
All right.
Not this.
That's great, and we wish you the very best. And that I do want to commend Harvard for the shared services concept. I think that that's a great idea, and for communities that are struggling, with personnel issues and that kind of stuff, I think that it's great that you all have shared services with the Chief Kimmel, and that John is in a position as a deputy chief to kind of provide the leadership there. I think it's a great organization. I think we're trying to promote that across the county in a variety of capacities, not just in fire service, but in other areas. So I commend you all on that effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Laura at this time from the board? Mr. Shorten?
I have no questions.
Thank you very much, Laura. As you may have heard already, there are 2 vacancies. There are 3 applicants. We will do deliberations after we conclude all of our interviews. You're welcome to stay online if you would like. Otherwise, we'll get a hold of you thereafter.
All right, thanks. Have a great day.
Great, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Michael, do you want to come up? And Chief, do you want to come up with him? We'll just kind of make this a little easier if that's okay with you. Michael is applying for the 1 vacancy in the Fox River Grove Fire Protection District. Say that 4 times. So Michael, nice to see you here this morning. Michael is also the president of the board as well. So if you again want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about all of your years of service to Fox River Grove, any of the challenges, and if it's okay, we'll just slide right into a little bit of overview on what's happening at Fox River Grove, and again, some of your challenges, some of your successes that you've had, Chief, and anything else that you would like to share. I will note that I started this when I became chairman. I think it's important for all of you to understand exactly the challenges that these fire protection districts are facing, what they're doing. I think they're extraordinarily active and responsible in their communities. But unlike Crystal Lake, these are all individual taxing entities that survive only on that revenue stream. So I just set you up, so go ahead, Michael. And
Well, that was easy. I apologize, I didn't bring anything like Chris Bennett did, so nothing to hand out. Secondly, so I'm a lifelong resident of Fox River Grove, 70 plus years now. I graduated Cary Grove High School, and from there I got on the fire department in January '74 as a paid on-call firefighter. Went through to August of '99, and I retired, and I had 8 years as a village trustee that I was prior to that. So I was asked if I wouldn't mind carrying over my experience as a village trustee over to the fire district, and with the knowledge I had, I was a firefighter paramedic, and so I took the helm. So at that time we were still paid on call, and we are now we've got 10 full-timers now. 10 contract. We're contract firefighters because we did try the Article 4 pension, which is that, in case you don't know, that's you levy to have pensions for your firefighters. Well, that was not going to work out for us due to their limited resources, revenue resources. So we were instrumental in being able to cancel, get rid of that levy, which had never been done before with the state. Took several years to do that, and so we got rid of that, and so now we're contract with Paramedic Services of Illinois and PSI, and that's worked out for us very well. So I've got 26 years now as a trustee, almost 26 years as a trustee, and 20 of those years as president of the district. So I've got a great working relationship with the chief. We've known each other for 50 plus years. So that's what happens when you grow up together, you know. So we work out real well. The other two trustees I work with have good experience in different fields. We've got a finance wizard and a guy that's corporate, and so yeah, it works out well for us. I know Chief will explain more about our revenue issues, like Pam has said, that it's, also I've known you for many years.
let's not talk about how many.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to say it?
Get on to the age.
So I know we're going to talk about that, but for me, so I do the, so you got the Illinois Association of Fire Protection Districts, you have the Northern Illinois Association of Fire Protection Districts. They offer a lot of conferences and learning resources. So I do get a lot of information from that, learn from that, and to help us in our situation. And so I'm still around.
Thank you.
I guess nobody else wants that job.
Chief, do you want to jump in and also can I ask you to share a little bit what you did with me about the mutual aid and the intergovernmental collaborations that you guys have entered into as well, please?
Absolutely. Well, we'll go back a few years. My name is Bob Crayer. I'm the fire chief in Fox River Grove. I've been there for, well, this summer will be 46 years, and in May will be 30 years as the fire chief. To go back, first of all, McHenry County is, with the exception of Crystal Lake, McHenry County is all fire protection districts. So we're separate taxing bodies that survive on a small portion of the property tax. That's our revenue. We do get a little bit of revenue from ambulance billing, but for the most part, it's property tax revenue, small portion. So what's happened over the years? What's happened over the years is we were all volunteer fire departments in McHenry County, a lot of farmland, small numbers of calls. So basically what we had all volunteers. So what we had was free labor. We had free labor. And so we were able to have enough money to replace our equipment as was needed. And what's happened over the years is the requirements to be a firefighter paramedic have gone up significantly. The commitment and the number of calls has gone up significantly. So what's happened is over the years, we've had a transition from part-timers, paid on call, paid per call. We used to get $5 for every call that we went on. If it took all night or 2 hours, you got $5. We got paid once every 6 months, and we'd sign the back and go drop it at the bar across the street. That was our pay. So
Spending it locally, that's good.
yeah, we
like
kept it
that.
local. But anyway, what's happened now is we still have that small revenue, and we've had to transition over to full-time employees. So what's happened is now is the majority of your revenue now goes to pay for your personnel. Your personnel is your biggest expense right now. For example, our revenue, our tax revenue, last year was 1.577. So $1.5 million was our tax revenue for the year. And then we collected about $300,000 in ambulance billing for the year. So, right around 1.9 million, right in that area. Well, our contract for our 10 full-time employees, which is 3 full-time on each shift and then 1 part-time, and then me, that is almost 1.3 million right there a year. That's about 1.3 million. And then our part-time, we still supplement our shifts with part-time employees. That's another $300,000 a year. So you're at right around $1.6 million just in payroll. So that leaves not a lot of money to replace equipment, maintain equipment, maintain the building, update the building, and the grounds. Very little.
And can I ask, I apologize, also explain to me how large the fire protection district is in Fox River Grove, square miles? And I forgot the second question, but answer that one first.
It's about 8 square miles. Yeah, it's not a huge district. It's pretty much landlocked. We cover part of Barrington Hills, unincorporated McHenry County, and Fox River Grove.
And then when's the last time Fox River Grove had a referendum?
2000. 2000. And it was successful, but in today's environment, going for referendum is, and I'm sure people from Harvard here will tell you, it's not, just because people, first of all, the property tax is already extremely high because of the school system. Secondly, a lot of people are not in good shape financially right now. They're hurting, because of the economy. And so it's a tough time. And so what's happened over the years is now the price of equipment also, an ambulance now with no equipment on it, $400,000. 1 fire engine with no equipment, no hose, no nothing on it, $1.2 million to replace it, right?
And how old would you say your equipment is existing today?
Well, our oldest engine is a 2004. Our newest engine is a 2008. My ambulances, my newest one is a 22. My oldest one is a 2010.
Mr. Sager, you had a question?
Yes, the 1.6 million that you are spending in personnel right now, that includes the contracted individuals then in
it does, and that includes all their benefits too from the contract, their workers' comp, their vacation, everything is included in that contract.
Right, okay. So that group of individuals, though, you really have kind of two groups then, as I'm looking at this, correct?
Mhm.
And so in terms of supervision, are they separately supervised?
No.
No.
They're still under my supervision.
Very good. Thank you so much.
If I could interject
Please.
on that. When the chief was saying that we went for referendum, we really didn't have a choice at the time because the Daily Herald had done a resource, or they had written an article about response times for fire departments. Well, being a paid-on-call fire department, our response times were lacking in that sense. So it was a big issue about response times. Well, we had to address that issue then because now it's in the public eye. And we got together and we talked about what can we do to see if we have a successful referendum. So we really did go out and let the residents know that this is what we plan on doing with the referendum, which was our pretty much our EMS, because of most of your calls are EMS calls. And so the chief and I went and sat down with the Northwest Herald editorial board. If they got a lot of questions, asked a lot of questions about what we wanted to do, and then after that they endorsed it. And when we did go for a referendum, it successfully passed, as chief said. So the residents did want what our vision was, to have full-time firefighters with paramedics. That's the only way you're going to bring down your response time. So that's what we did, and it worked. But once again, we're limited revenue resources, strictly real estate taxes, and Fox River has a very small commercial base, so we're dependent on our residents, which is tough,
And it's all TIF'd.
And plus we got several TIFs.
Right, we talked about that.
So.
Yeah. And what is your rate, chief? What is the current tax rate?
It is 0.072, right around there.
We can go up to 0.8, 0.4 for corporate, 0.4 for EMS.
So that's what you're below your levy right now?
Yes.
Okay. And are you thinking about increasing to your levy?
Well, you
maximum.
The problem is you're held by the CPI at the same time. So you can levy all you want, but you can only get to the CPI or 5%, which so
exactly.
Yeah, you can't get there.
So,
go ahead, please.
Yeah, you mentioned something with the bus accident, and I'm trying to remember when that was.
October 25th of 1995.
Yeah, bus train accident.
Okay, so, and then you went for a referendum after that, you said in 2000, right?
We did go in 2000, and it was basically to staff the station, to get the response, which we do now. Staff the station, we have 4 people on shift all the time. We do have some of the best response times in McHenry County. Our average response time with an ambulance from dispatch to on the scene is about 3.5 minutes.
So I was just wondering, did that accident have some kind of impact on how you evaluated the efficiency of the department and everything?
We were fortunate to have the mutual aid system that we have in place. It's an excellent mutual aid system. We've gone a lot further than that now with the auto aid agreements that we have. And so we do have excellent response times because we have help from surrounding communities. And I don't know, what system is that called now, where the computer says,
AVL, you're talking about?
Yeah.
The closest unit.
Closest unit. So believe it or not, we get a call and we don't have, say, an ambulance available. The system picks out who does have, say, an ambulance that's the closest in Cary, Barrington countryside, or and so that's worked out tremendously, and that's helped our response times as well. So I mean, kudos to that system. I'll tell you that.
I'd like to touch base a little bit on what Chris Bennett talked about, with McHenry County as a whole. McHenry County is, the fire districts cannot compete with our departments to the east. Most of our departments to the east are municipal fire departments, right? So their revenue, they bring in revenue from several different sources. They get a piece of your utility bill, they get sales tax, they get, and property tax about as much as we get too. They get all kinds of revenue where we're single revenue, basically. So what happens is we train them, right? We get new guys, we train them. After we get them trained and certified, they go because they can make, they go to Arlington, Palatine, Buffalo Grove, wherever, they can make $130,000 a year as a firefighter paramedic and get a lot of time off and a pension, right? Decent time off and pension. So, but we have a shortage of firefighter paramedics, all throughout the country, basically. So what happens is the deepest pockets wins when there's a shortage, right? Which we don't have. We don't have the deepest pockets. So what's going on now is not only do we have to compete with the high-end paying jobs to the east, but we're all competing against each other in McHenry County. We're trying to compete against each other, and we're all providing the same assistance to the county. Nobody handles their own calls for fires in McHenry County on their own anymore. If there's a fire in McHenry, we're going there. If there's a fire in Fox River Grove, they're coming to us. We all go to each other's calls to help each other out, but yet we're competing for the same people to handle those calls. I can't compete with the deeper pockets. I can't do it. I can't even come close. So I'm a revolving door. I'm constantly training and
And tell me how much it costs to train someone?
Well, the school, the tuition for the school, you have EMT class, you have basic fire ops class, you have paramedic class, and then you have to outfit them with turnout gear. Turnout gear alone is about $3,500, plus you have to buy them uniforms, get them in uniforms, you add another $500 there. So you're $4,000 plus all the tuition for the classes, which is thousands of dollars too. So and when you're doing that on a revolving basis, let's check and see if we got gear that'll fit the new guy that came in. Nope, okay, we gotta buy new gear again for him. That's another $4,000 right there. It's tough. And I really think someday down the road, like Chris was saying, we need to figure out a way where the county, we're not competing against each other here. Let's try and keep as many people as we can in the county instead of going to Cook County and Lake County. Keep our good, qualified, seasoned people here.
Any questions?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I really appreciate that you mentioned how when there's a fire, I lived in Hebron for over 20 years, and when Crown, that manufacturing facility had this fire, we had firefighters from everywhere there. It was just, that's so beautiful the way all of the districts just come, you just show up. So, yeah, thank you for that.
It's come a long way. When we both started, there was no such thing. And so we've seen it start from the ground up, and it's worked out well.
Yes. In conclusion, Mr. Kunkel, you have a question?
No, not so much a question. Obviously, you guys do a tremendous job with limited resources. In fact, the general public hardly has an idea of that. We all expect and grow up having a red fire truck running around taking care of business. They don't understand the hurdles that it takes to run this as a business on a limited source. To not have had a referendum for 25 years, I mean, everything has gone up exponentially. I can't even imagine today to be able to buy equipment to service what you guys do every day without those additional revenue sources. Everyone else has gotten a raise except you guys. It's patently unfair, and it's definitely something as a county and as a board we're going to have to start looking at with a closer eye.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
I appreciate that. And I also want to thank you for your help on that bridge, that Spring Creek Bridge.
Oh, absolutely. You couldn't get to my house without that bridge, and I need you.
It was the craziest way that it passed, but I don't know how that worked.
So thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time and spending some time explaining things to us. So, great. Greatly appreciated. We'll keep the communication open.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you for coming.
So obviously, the next item on our agenda is the deliberation and selection for McHenry Township Fire Protection District. Again, we have one vacancy. We had one applicant, Mr. Sager.
May I suggest that we take 5.7, 5.8, 5.9 jointly, single motion?
We can do that. I would override that and say we could do 5.7 and 5.9. Those are simple. It's one vacancy,
Right.
one applicant.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a lot, and then we can deliberate. Your thoughts, sir?
My thought is to, with all due respect to and appreciation to Joel for his strong interest and service, it's all about timing, and I suspect wholeheartedly that there's going to be opportunities as we move into the next few years. And I know that Joe's kind of been on a waiting list here, but I would, if you are willing to do that, make a motion to approve 5.7, 8, and 9 in terms of reappointments of current incumbents.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that, Mr. Kunkel? Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to just add
Please.
to that. So I appreciate Mr. Logan coming in, and I appreciate his interest. And I do think that it's nice to know that there's somebody there that's going to be there when there's an opening. I'm sorry, Mr. Joel. How are you pronouncing your last name? Brouillette?
That works.
Brouillette or Brouillette? All right, I'm sorry. No, but I appreciate the fact that he has the experience, he has the interest. I do appreciate the fact of keeping Laura on for that transitional period and recognizing that she's got an end date, because it is nice to get new people on some of these boards so that we have a different perspective. Sometimes we just need that fresh look. So to your point, I'm fine with moving forward, as you suggested. Any other comments or discussion?
Yeah, I agree with Carolyn. I also appreciate you coming here, Mr. Brouillette, and Laura, the treasurer, she's still the treasurer, has indicated that she has an endpoint coming. So I hope your interest remains strong and that you come back. I appreciate all of the years you've spent, in the fire department, being a part of that. And I know that you have a perspective to offer. So don't give up. Come back again.
May I have a roll call vote?
Campbell.
Yes.
Sager.
Yes.
Kunkel.
Yes.
Van Hoff.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes.
Altough.
Yes. Thank you. And Joel, I'm going to echo that as well. Timing is everything, so please stay engaged and come back, and hopefully we'll see your face here again at a later time. Thank you. Next
Thanks, Joel,
item.
for their time today.
Pardon me?
Thanks to all for their time today.
Yes, very much. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the legislative update. Shaylin and Alicia, do you want to come up to the table? And I'm going to turn it over to you, Alicia.
Thank you. She's good, or she's coming on in. Excellent. Well, good morning, everyone. As Pam said, I'm Alicia Schuler, Director of Public Affairs, for those who are watching us at home, and my colleague,
Shaylin Hagel with McHenry County Council of Governments.
As you know, we have a legislative report that's been placed in your packet. Happy to discuss any points in that you might have questions on. However, we do have a special treat today, and that is Joyce Narduli. Joyce, I cannot say enough good things about. If you remember, about a month or so ago, she took us to, and when I say us, I mean Chair Altoff, Member Sager, and I, and the Council of Governments to Springfield, and got us into a whole bunch of great meetings with Senator Don Harmon, who leads the Senate, Bill Cunningham, the President Pro Temp, the budgeteers, Robin Gable, I'm leaving out others, minority leaders, Curran and McCombie. Again, she opened the doors for us. And she's here to give us a bit of a legislative update and answer any questions you guys might have about Springfield.
And particularly pertinent as we are in the middle of session, so I don't expect that we will require Mrs. Narduli to attend all of our committee meetings, but certainly during session it's pertinent. So Joyce, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Morning, Joyce.
We're having a busy time in Springfield with the committee deadline having passed on Friday. The Senate isn't in this week, but the House is, well, they're only in today and tomorrow. They cut the last 2 days off. So each House is going to have 7 days to hear all the bills that they've gotten out of committee on third reading, which is the deadline. I believe it's coming up on April 11, and then they'll start the process again where all the House bills will go to Senate committees and the Senate bills will go to House committees, etc. So that said, I think there are a few issues that you guys really care about. I'm going to say the first one is probably the local government distributive fund. And everything I'm hearing says that's going to be status quo. I know you guys have heard from some legislators that it's going to be, dropped and disappear or completely phased out, but that's just not the case. So I think you can expect status quo this year. And I'll stop there and see if you have any questions about that.
No.
Okay. We met with the governor's office and told them about maintaining the status quo, and Bria Scudder, who's deputy governor, shook her head yes and says, we absolutely expect to see status quo. So I think we're pretty safe there. I'm going to next turn to, I think the next big hot issue maybe is transit. And you probably know there's another subject matter hearing in the House today at 2 o'clock on 2 of the transit bills. One is Representative Delgado's House Bill 1833. The other is Representative Evans' Union Bill on transit, which is House Bill 2963. They're all talking about the same issues. We've got to have reform before we have funding. We've got to have funding before the end of the year, which is the end of May. And the governor, well, I don't know how much you want me to say about this, but
Actually, both you and Mr. Sager can weigh in as much as you want. This is an important issue, obviously, to us, so please.
Okay. Well, last week, the Civic Federation, the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, the Illinois Economic Policy Institute, and the Center for Tax and Budget Accountability released a report calling for the expansion of the sales tax to several services, claiming that such a move would create $2 billion a year in new revenue, of which approximately $390 million would go to the municipalities. So I've been around for 40 plus years. I've never seen a service tax get supported or passed in any form on any service. So I don't know how far that's going to go this year, but I have my doubts. Then you have to wonder, where's the governor? Well, he's been saying as far back as September that local governments within the RTA coverage area are going to have to step up on funding. And on February 4th, he said, when we look at the question of mass transit, we've got to consider everything that contributes to that. State government, county government, city government, as well as the fare box. And all those things together are going to help solve the problem. And then just 2 weeks after that, he again reiterated that there will be adjustments to the fare box, probably, he said. And on total cost, he said, who's covering how much of that is a negotiation that's ongoing. So the other interesting thing about the fare box, I think, is it hasn't been increased since 2018. And if you adjust that amount for inflation, they're paying $2.50 today. Inflation would actually have them paying $3 on the L train. So that's something to think about. And then when is this all going to happen? He says, well, soon. It's got to happen soon. People have to look at reforms first. And I will tell you that Marty Moylan, who is the chair of the Transportation Committee hearing the transit bills today, is very focused on waste and mismanagement, and especially when it comes to overtime for workers. That is in a strong, it's a very, very high number that has led to a lot of the budget problems in his mind. So I think we're going to be seeing reform on overtime. And then when we had a really great conversation with Delgado, who is the House point person from the Speaker's office on putting together a plan. She said, we have to look at reform and connectivity in a way that doesn't connect east, meaning Chicago, to the west, but it also has to include north to south. It has to be one integrated system, which I think is not really quite there yet today. So I'll stop there and see if you have questions on that. Or Brian, if you want to.
Brian, yeah, thank you very much, Joyce. Brian, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I know. I appreciate you, Joyce, and everything that you do. It's been great to work with you over the many years, but there are many, many, many different parts to the transit question. And frankly, I don't know that all of these are going to be solved in this particular session. I think it's kind of Pollyanna-ish to believe that that's going to be possible. I think that there's probably about 3 things that likely will happen. One of those is that, as Joyce indicated, they are looking for reform basically in the governance structure, and they are concerned about some of the things that have happened in the past in terms of oversight. So let's just examine that for a minute. We have talked about that here in this body, but the fact is that I think they're going to maintain the service agencies. I think that that's in the labor bill, and I think that that's a strong voice out there, and I think that those agencies are going to be maintained, which I have explained before that I think is important because you have a tremendous amount of expertise and experience there within those service agencies, which are going to be required, and it would be difficult to have all of those combined into one. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I think that there is consensus that the RTA or the MMA or Mickey Mouse's Club, whatever title you want to put on it, is going to have a greater amount of authority and opportunity to oversight for accountability and prioritization the service agencies. So I think that that is going to be there. Now, in combination with that, however, this oversight board, again, regardless of the name, is going to also have expanded participation and membership. Right now, there's a lot of talk, and it seems to be getting some momentum that the governor has certain appointee opportunities, and that those are going to be such that they require, if you will, participation in labor, participation by business, and participation by users. And so there's going to be an attempt to kind of add those individuals into the larger oversight board. And in that particular instance, then that does open up some political questions about the overall balance of the board. And that is no more important, if you will, than the balance in voting. I am moving away, and I would ask this body and other bodies to move away from this word supermajority. That's an ugly word which is not being well received in Springfield by legislators and or other entities that are working with trying to craft whatever this model is going to be. I think we need to be emphasizing and talking not about maintenance of a supermajority vote over items and issues, but I think we need to be talking about a balance of representation and a balance of voting opportunities. So that's kind of the way I'm framing it, is emphasizing the word balance now, because it's going to change. It will change. Let's just try to maintain a balance of opportunity with the Collier counties and Cook County and the city of Chicago.
Hey, Brian, can I just add one thing before you move on?
Yes.
So when we met with Bria Scudder, again, Deputy Governor, we talked about the supermajority voting structure in that meeting. And this is her quote: "We certainly want to make sure that you have representation and that you aren't overrun." So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Right. And I think that's what we're building on, if you will, is to talk more about balance. So let me kind of move into the next context on this. The RTA board meets on Thursday of this week. There's been a lot of phone calls, a lot of conversations, a lot of work behind the scenes by RTA and our lobbyist, Rob Nash. And there's a lot of effort in combination with Joyce and others to kind of pull this together. Now, previously when I talked, there was a conversation that we would have a resolution about these things, representation, governance oversight, and supermajority. We're backing off of that. And one of the reasons we're backing off of that is because there's such a mix out there. So now we're looking at resolutions that present efficiencies. And we did require each of the service agencies to come up with efficiencies. They have, to the point that we have about $130 million now in savings, which have been identified and which is being communicated. As most of you know, that was also publicized in terms of identifying cuts if we don't get some financial assistance. And so there's been all kinds of articles, editorials about that in major media. I think the point is that there will be continued efforts by the RTA board to oversight efficiencies, but also to start planning for the future. Because this is part of the issue right now, is that if we don't get the funding that is going to be necessary, and let's be honest about it, that's about $738 million in this year's budget. That's what's going to fill the gap, if you will. We've been talking about 1.5 billion. That 1.5 billion is going to help us to move forward, if you will, in terms of the things that are really necessary. And in an ideal world, that's where the legislature should be approving state participation in terms of transit. Is that going to happen this year? No, let's be realistic. That's not going to happen this year. But if we can get some additional funding to help us through the gap area, what we're trying to do is to plan for what happens if we don't get that funding, what are the necessary cuts going to be, and I'm kind of been charged with communicating that to our transportation committee tomorrow, what those cuts will be. But then also to look at, if we do get the funding, what are we going to be able to do to start moving forward? So that's the current approach of the RTA board, is not to get involved too much in the governance structure, let the powers that be and everything kind of move that forward, county board chairs, the COGs, etc. And let's start focusing now on what we will have to do if we don't get the funding, communicating that, but also understanding what we need to do in the future. So that's kind of our emphasis right now. And Joyce, correct me if you see anything else out there that is different from what I've been communicating, but I think that that's the path that we're heading down right now.
Would you anticipate that we are going to see increases at the fare box?
Yes. We're going to see it. I mean, the reality is that it has to be a combination of sustainable, I want to emphasize that, it has to be a combination of sustainable revenue sources. And there are many things that were presented by the RTA a long time ago that was kind of whittled down by the CMAP part report. But at the same time, I think there's a fresh look now at all opportunities by the legislature. I appreciate that. I think that's necessary. I think that's by the governor's office folks too. We're going to have to see an increased RTE sales tax in this area. One, in the labor proposal, there is a emphasis upon a road usage tax as a pilot project. I think that's very interesting. That's been done by a few other states out there. I think that's a logical thing to do. There's been a look at a congestion tax in Chicago, which has been done in New York, etc. That's out there. Certainly, there's also been talk about a service tax. I'm like Joyce. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. I just don't think that's possible. To get that done and to kind of throw that into this mix is probably not going to happen. But we are going to see increases in fare boxes. And frankly, that's very legitimate I'm going to say something that's not politically correct right now. Excuse me, but CTA has not been appropriately and adequately facing their financial realities, and they have placed that upon other regions such as the Collier County. So that's a concern about me, of me. But at the same time, we've got to address that. Okay, I'm stopping, I'm sorry.
No, and can I ask appropriate individual, with regard to the increase in a RTA sales tax, do you anticipate that the state will take that step, or do you think the state will push that down to local counties to determine whether or not they want to see that increase?
Are you asking me, Pam?
I'm asking.
Whoever wants to answer.
I don't think I don't have that crystal ball. I don't think anybody knows for sure yet. But going back to the fare increase, when I said it was last increased in 2018, that was the first increase in 9 years.
Right.
So it's well overdue for them to have a fare increase as a part of this budget negotiation.
I would agree. I think that that's an easier lift. I'm just trying to determine and inform my committee members that I am not confident that the state will take the action themselves and say we're going to do a sales tax increase. They may send it and push it down to each individual county to determine whether or not you want to participate in that. And so I just want people to be aware that once again, we may be facing some of those difficult decisions. That was
I share your concern. My sincere hope is that the state will make that decision to go ahead and assume oversight responsibility. I think that would be the best thing to do, but whether or not they will do that, I don't know. But again, I think it's going to have to be approached from a multiple matrix of revenue. It's not going to be one silver bullet. It's going to be a lot of these types of things, and that's a question. My concern is that it is so political, it's ridiculous. You know, we know that Chicago controls a tremendous amount of action in Springfield, right? They have been able over the years, bluntly, to be able to keep their fares and their taxes low, even property taxes low, at the expense of the Collier counties, because the Collier counties have had to contribute. We are a net contributor. That's going to continue to be the case. Let's not be Pollyannish about this. That's going to continue to be the case. The question is, though, will the representatives from the Chicagoland area that are in the legislature, are they willing to allow higher taxes, congestion taxes, higher taxes in terms of fare box, et cetera, in the Chicagoland area through the CTA? I don't know.
Brian, since you're talking politics, let me make this one political point to that. Brandon Johnson has the lowest approval ratings of any mayor that I've ever heard of. So he's such a weakened position that helps everyone in the collars. And the Metro mayors have about 242 mayors that participate in the politics of Springfield. And so if the 242 work together against the one, I think that puts you in a good position for now.
I think that's a great point. The challenge, as you know, Joyce, and we've talked about this before, is getting that coalition together in one voice.
Is our representative still President Hownick?
Yes.
Mark, still
In
our
the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus.
Yes.
I guess to kind of bring this to conclusion, lots of effort, lots of questions. We have to kind of, I mean, the voice is there. We've been promoting the voice to our legislators. The question is, are they going to be able to come together with both a governance decision and a revenue decision for this coming fiscal year? That's the question. And we're not going to solve all this right now. Not going to happen. I would suggest that all these revenue sources are going to be revealed, quote unquote, over several sessions in the future. But that's just my thought. Joyce?
Yeah, well, you're right about the governance, because Speaker Welch just said a week ago that we're stuck on governance, and they're not going to move forward on revenue until they fix the governance issue.
Exactly.
So,
All right, we've beaten that subject to death. Moving on.
Thanks, Joyce.
moving on, everyone's talking about the pension problems with Tier 2. And there have been a plethora of bills introduced on Tier 2 pension reform. And the one sticking point that has to be corrected is that Tier 2 pensioners who are making less than they would be making on Social Security is something that's, I think, unconstitutional. Ergo, something will be done at some point on Tier 2 pensions. That said, however, they've been hosting subject matter hearings on Tier 2 in the House and the Senate. You know, those unions involved in Tier 2 are very loud and vocal. They're called the We Are One Coalition. And I yet know that the governor doesn't want to do anything that's going to unbalance the state budget, which their proposals definitely would. And so I think that there's nothing imminent on pension reform right now. We'll see. But moving on to zoning and land use preemption bills, there are two bills that are designed and publicized as leading to helping with the huge housing crisis facing Illinois and, quite frankly, a lot of the country. But those bills are House Bill 1813 and House Bill 1814, both of them carried by Leader Bob Rita in the House. And they would not let municipalities limit the development of duplexes or putting up a little home in the back of your house to let your in-law live in, you know, building a little she shed, so to speak, that would be livable with plumbing or whatever. The municipals that I heard from on Friday are absolutely earth-shatteringly opposed to this legislation. But the Illinois Realtors, who have probably more membership than anybody, there's tons of realtors in Illinois, they're for these bills. They are working with the coalition to pass something on the housing crunch and crisis. So I just bring that to your attention as something you should be following closely. On crime-free housing, Senator Villa has Senate Bill 2264, and she is working with Senator Harmon, who told us that he really wants to pass something on crime-free housing. And again, it's putting the, I think, IML in a position that they don't want to be in. I don't think they like this proposal very much. So I want to highlight that for you as well. And then I also want to talk about iGaming. We've heard about video gaming on your phones. That would hurt all of you. That would take a lot of revenue away from taxation you're currently getting, is my understanding. Like about $1 billion a state, you know, $1 billion a year that's currently going into the state from the current gaming system. So it's very, very controversial, and that said, likely not to go anywhere this spring, but keep an eye on it because I think it's something that'll come back again and again. Excuse me. I'm going to stop there and see if you have any questions or if I've hit. Oh, I can tell you, we talked a lot when McCall came to lobby on the Suzanne Ness bill, 1938. No, that's not it. What's the number? 1329. 1329 has gone back to rules. So I don't know if they have, I haven't talked to Suzanne about that. I don't know if she's negotiating on the issue and has a vehicle bill in her pocket, but that bill, I would say, is dead for this year. So maybe she's working on it and she'll put an amendment on something else, but I just wanted to let you know that because we talked a lot about it when we were lobbying in Springfield.
Mr. Kunkel? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's it for me, unless you have questions.
I do. What's happening with homeschooling?
Oh, that's a good question. I listened to the nearly 3-hour debate last week in the House on homeschooling. They had a huge lobby day that day. There about 43,000 people put in witness slips opposed to any changes. But I will tell you, homeschooling is regulated in 38 other states. So what I understand the proponents is trying to do is save kids whose parents say they're homeschooling, but they're not getting any education. There were 2 homeschoolers, former homeschoolers, who testified for the bill. One was an attorney who worked for the Homeschool Association and said this is a modest attempt to try to regulate and protect children who are being abused, neglected, and uneducated. And that is all they're trying to do. They aren't trying to get rid of any religion. They're not trying to come down hard on anybody other than regulate the way 38 other states are doing. That bill came out of committee 8-4 with 1 Democrat voting present. So the legislation is currently sitting on the House floor for debate, and it is hotly debated. I probably think it's not going to pass this year unless there's, an amendment that probably weakens one of the things that's got a criminal penalty in it for failure to report.
Thank you.
Any other questions or any additions from either of you to add on? Is there any comment you want to give us about the township consolidation?
Yes, there was some discussion about a Glowiak bill, Senator Glowiak's bills, because she was the vehicle for the governor's reforms with township consolidations. She did put a statement out in the Capitol Facts that they're stepping away from that, and those bills have not moved forward, by the deadlines. I know deadlines, as Pam always says, are fluid, but I will continue keeping an eye on it. But given that the person that the governor was working with has said that it's not moving publicly, perhaps a good indication on that front. Also, I would like to note, I would like to note too, on House Bill 1329, Sheriff Tatelman did go down to Springfield to testify in person before the committee, and due to his testimony, Rita Mayfield, who is the chair of that committee, did sign on to that bill, and I know she is working with Rep. Ness to try to find other paths for it.
And I would agree, most likely.
She's got like 6 co-sponsors on her bill.
Yeah, and I think that maybe that bill number may, as you stated, Joyce, is dead, but I think the issue remains alive and vibrant, so we're hopeful. We're hopeful. Anything else or any questions from any of the committee members?
Well, to what Alicia just said, I'd like to say that township bill was in the governor's budget. Even though he didn't talk about it when he gave his address, he really wants to eliminate township governments or at least consolidate them. So I would say that Glowiak's bill failing is a pretty big blow to the governor, and he had another pretty big blow on one he did talk about, which is letting community colleges have some 4-year degrees. He's very adamant and very supportive of community colleges and really wanted to see some 4-year degrees in areas such as nursing and some other highly needed occupations that he believes the 4-year universities aren't producing enough of. And that legislation didn't even get a hearing in the House Education Committee. So I just point that out, as I don't know what's going on with the governor's team, but that's pretty interesting.
Well, again, thank you. And Joyce, thank you for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you again next month as we move forward. And moving on then. Thank you. We're done.
All right.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the routine consent agenda. Does anybody have anything that they want to remove? And if not, then I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I think questions.
I have questions.
Oh, you have, okay, wait. Ms.
What, was there a motion on the floor?
No, I think it was pulled back because I think we're going to pull some things off. Okay. Mr. Kunkel, did you have something you wanted removed?
I'm catching up because this was a lot.
I know, I'm sorry.
We did, I had the question on 7.4, but having that discussion
Right,
prior
that's why we
was
tried
good,
to do it.
so-
And again, Mr. Austin is here.
That was it.
That was it.
That
was it for me too.
Good.
Are you good?
Good.
Okay.
Good. Sorry.
Not seeing any removals. Ms. Campbell makes a motion to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Mr. Kunkel. Roll call vote, please.
Sager,
Yes.
Kunkel,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Van Hoff,
Yes.
Campbell, excuse me, Shorten,
Yes.
Alta.
Yes, thank you. All right, motion carries. Next on the agenda are our presentations. So we're going to do the overview of 911 telephone systems. Tiki, how are ya? Good. Nice to see you again. We apologize, we kind of made you wait a little bit, but lots of important information.
I apologize for the miscommunication on the schedule from last month.
That's all right, don't worry about it.
So,
You're up.
Okay. My name is Tiki Schulte. I'm the director for McHenry County Emergency Telephone System Board. We support and maintain the 911 infrastructure within McHenry County. This may be a repeat for some of you, so I apologize. We support the 3 dispatch centers, or emergency communication centers as they're now called, and the 26 police departments and 15 fire departments that are located within McHenry County. The mission of the Emergency Telephone System Board is to plan, implement, control, maintain, and upgrade to meet current and future demands. Those 2 words are very important, current and future demands of the enhanced 911 system for the entire county of McHenry. Just a little background, in 1989, a referendum was passed by the residents in McHenry County for a 50-cent surcharge on residential and business lines. And the Illinois Commerce Commission granted the Emergency Telephone System Board the authority to operate on April 7th of 1992. To that, I will say that I started on May 26th of 1992. I have institutional knowledge of the processes that have taken place in the last 33 years. So we provide the equipment, the services, facilities, and other necessary items for the implementation, operation, and maintenance of the 911 system within McHenry County. We have a 13-member board. Members are approved by their public safety organization and then are recommended by the public safety organization and then approved by law and government, as we most recently did with Deputy Chief Tiffany Decker, I believe it was in January, to be sent on to the full board for approval. There is a 2-year term limit per appointment. However, there is no limit on the number of terms that someone may serve. I will share that during a leadership course I was taking a few years ago, one of my projects was to look at our board. And in the last 33 years, we've had over 60 different board members that have been involved with the Emergency Telephone System Board. So we have representation from the Public Safety Answering Points, Police Chiefs Association, Fire Chiefs Association, Emergency Management. Dave Christensen is our current board chairman, and then also a private citizen that's appointed by law and government. We have 7 staff members. Back again, a little history, back in 1992, there were 2 of us. For a number of years, it was just myself. And due to technology and support advancements, needs, growth, and primarily technology, we currently have 7 staff members. I am the director. We have an assistant director, an operations manager, a network system manager, an application specialist, an administrative coordinator, and a part-time support technician. I know through different committees and whatnot, maintaining employment within the county, while we are sad to see staff members leave, if they're staying within the county organization, we're grateful for that. And I'm very happy to say 2 of those people have ended up with us. One of them is a retiree, so he works part-time. But then our operations manager, someone that had 16 years of experience in communications with the sheriff's office. There are a total of 30 dispatch workstations among the 3 emergency communication centers. There are 9 at the Sheriff's Office, 9 at NERCOM, which is located in McHenry Police Department, and then CCOM just completed a remodel and increased their space up to 12. Over the course of the last 30 years, most recently in 2017, there was legislation that was passed that forced consolidation. So any county with a population of over 250,000 people had to reduce the number of public safety answering points to 50% or 2, whichever number was greater. We originally started with 9 back in 1992. There was consolidation prior to the legislation, and so we were at 6 at that point in time and went down to 3. Services that we provide. One of the parallels that I had used before is county IT provides IT technical support to the 26 departments within the McHenry County government organization. The McHenry County ETSB provides technical support to the 3 dispatch centers in the county, along with the 26 police departments and 15 fire departments in the county. So our board, our department, we do not just support the Sheriff's Office, we support all the public safety agencies within McHenry County. With a 911 system, computer-aided dispatch system, mapping, 911 voice and data logging recorders, technical support, database maintenance, AVL, which is the automatic vehicle location. I was really happy to hear when Fox River Grove trustee candidate was mentioning the AVL and being able to utilize the closest unit to respond. That is a service and a system that the ETSB does provide to the agencies. State access, electronic ticketing, we work with the circuit clerk as far as being able to upload data over our network and sharing of information. We also work closely with county GIS for sharing of mapping data. We have a GIS consultant that we deal with, that we work with for our specific needs, which is beyond the capacity that the county GIS has. Information that we're able to obtain, we then share with county GIS to help populate their system. Likewise, they send us parcels and street information and that type of thing as well. The major point of, I think, what I'm here today regarding is to let you know or remind you that the ETSB is solely funded by 911 surcharge. We are not funded at all by county tax dollars. We are not funded by any type of tariffs or whatnot other than the 911 surcharge.
Ms. Schulte, don't we not have a surcharge on cell phones now as well?
There's only one surcharge now. It's across the board.
Across all,
correct.
Thank you.
Correct. So when we started in 1989, when that referendum was passed, that was 50 cents. And that remittance started being collected in 1990. And then state legislation passed in 1999 to collect 73 cents per wireless line, which was separate from the 50 cents of the landline. And that remittance began in 2001. 2017 was very monumental for us in the 911 industry. State legislation passed in July of 2017, and it was 4th of July, the week of 4th of July, to collect $1.50 per network connection. And that surcharge remittance began in 2018. So now we are 7 years into collecting that amount. And we are finding that that is not applicable or is not sufficient to be able to fully fund a 911 dispatch center. And I do want to thank, you'll always be Senator Altalk to me. I remember sitting up in the gallery and when that vote took place, and it just,
I too
there were a whole
remember
group of us who were
vividly.
waiting and it passed, and it was an amazing moment for us. However, our current funding is sunsetting December 31st of 2025. And so throughout the 30 years, there's always been a sunset. We've always met with legislators to seek further support to continue the funding. In the event that such funding does not pass, the responsibility would then fall back on the county and the municipalities. And while the monthly surcharge right now is $1.50 per connection, so that's your cell phone, if you have a voice over IP system, some business lines are a little different. There's an aggregate if you have, for every 10 business lines, it's 1, but we won't get into all that. However, over the past 4 months, there has been a significant decrease in the amount of 911 surcharge remittance received by all entities across the state. And we have asked if they can, explain why, and right now it's a big unknown. Previously, if there was a wireless carrier, let's say company A, had a problem with their distribution to the state would process all the remittance that had been received instead of holding it back and then waiting until company A had resolved whatever issues, and then that would be distributed in the next remittance period, which is on a monthly basis. In McHenry County alone, we have had a 23% decrease.
Wow. Could that be due to the lack of people eliminating landlines?
That is one of the thoughts. However, most people who eliminate a landline have 3 or 4, 5 wireless phones in their bills. There has not been any indication that there's been a decrease in wireless subscribers. While landlines are definitely going away, this is the lowest, the last couple of months has been the lowest surcharge check McHenry County has received since December of 2017, because in January of 18 is when we started receiving the remittance of the $1.50, the proportion of the $1.50. The entities don't get the whole $1.50. It's broken out, 35 cents is reserved for the state 911 director, another percentage for 911 authorities, different grants, and then also the statewide Next Generation 911 network, which is bringing everything off of copper and onto fiber. At a recent state 911 advisory board meeting, they did state that there has been a 53% increase in the NG, as Next Generation 911 carrier costs, and that is going from the copper to the fiber. And those expenses are paid to the network carriers off the top of that $1.50. So the carriers, their bills are paid, so AT&T, Frontier, and Digital, whoever is providing network connectivity. So that does have a direct impact on how that affects what we as
what's left in the bucket to distribute to you guys.
Correct. We have the 911 professionals within the state of Illinois. We have a initiative called 911 Goes to Springfield, and that is initiated by the joint legislative committees of the Illinois National Emergency Number Association and the Illinois chapter of the Association of Public Safety Communication Officials. Those are our 2 professional organizations within the state, of which I do hold a certification on for each of those organizations. So it's attended by 911 professionals across the state. We host an event to meet with legislators. We also go door to door, so to speak. We try to make appointments and explain what's going on, how it affects us, and to discuss current needs, technology advancements, and the challenges that 911 systems face across the state. And this will take place on April 29th.
May I ask, who have you approached with regard to trying to determine why there's been a decrease in your allocation?
Michael Yoakley is the current chairman of the state 911 State Advisory Board. He's with Illinois State Police. And they're looking, we've been on multiple calls. We have a state advisory board meeting probably every other week or so. And it's the thing that strikes odd to all of us is that it's not a geographical decrease. It's across the board, one end to the other. So they don't know if maybe there's something wrong in the matrix that's being used for distribution or whatnot. But it's definitely on everyone's radar.
Mr. Sager, did you have a question?
Yeah, two questions. The first
Then
is,
Ms. Van Hoff.
what is the percentage then of that $1.50 that we receive?
I knew that question was going to come up, and I unfortunately don't have the exact percentage. I believe it ended up being probably about 85 cents
Out of the $1.50.
out of the $1.50, correct.
Right, and the concern about the reduction in the current distribution could be results of a lower collection on behalf of the individual companies, one, but that seems unlikely.
And we haven't found that to be.
Right. So then it has to be someplace in the system of collection and distribution, correct?
That's.
So what do you project is the, hold up, where's the hitch?
We don't have any idea. And we've had, as I said, over the last 6 weeks, there have been 3 calls or 3 state advisory board meetings. Our individual committees or our organizations have met, and we have asked that question, and we have to wait to hear back from the state to see what they find.
So you reckon that that's my study.
You reckon, I know, I wanted to, right away.
There's definitely something not right.
Yeah.
There's definitely
Well,
something not right. And there's a consortium of we're nicknamed the Big 8, the large 8 counties in the state of Illinois: Lake County, McHenry County, DuPage, yes, Kane, and then St. Clair County and Madison County, and Will County. And so we all have calls as well to discuss legislation.
So do you reckon that was, my question was going to be that there will be a retroactive payment once all this is settled? Are you thinking that will be the
And
case?
that is what has happened in the past. In looking at our, I love spreadsheets, looking at the spreadsheet from the time we started collecting wireless 911 surcharge back in the early 2000s, you can kind of see where there's a decrease and then a larger increase, and that it kind of offsets each other. This is just like unexplainable. But it is something that everyone is very cognizant of in the state, and questions are being asked, and they're checking into it. And this is something that has just come up within the last 2 months where, we had calls and everybody's like, something's not right here. We're losing money, you're not getting money. So we're definitely checking into that. Once I have more information regarding the initiative, our speaking points and whatnot for 911 Goes to Springfield, I will definitely share that with you if you don't mind.
No,
and kudos to Pam. Every time we were down there, she met with us, she pulled in other representatives, worked with her representatives, other senators and whatnot to get us a larger audience, and we cannot be more thankful. And we were very sad to see you leave the Senate, but I'm very glad to have you sitting here. So just a quick overview on 911 in 2024. There were approximately 98,000 911 calls answered within McHenry County within our system, and 81,000 of those were wireless. So 83% of our 911 calls answered in McHenry County are wireless. 230,000 administrative calls were answered between the 3 communication centers. 355 text to 911 calls were processed. 226,000 police calls were dispatched through the 911 system, CAD system that provided by the ETSB, and 44,000 fire and EMS calls were dispatched. So with the services that are provided by the ETSB and what we try to give back to the police and fire agencies helps offset expenses that they would have otherwise. And obviously hearing today with what Harvard, McHenry, and Fox River Grove were all speaking of, their funding is a huge issue.
Yeah.
So we do what we can to help offset expenses. For example, with the Sheriff's Department, they have over 100 deputies out on the road, detectives, whatnot, all utilizing a laptop computer, just like everybody's seen on those cop shows on TV. We support the software and the network infrastructure for that communication to take place between the communication centers and the responding units. That is a wireless device. It's similar to a cell phone charge. You're looking at about $40. If the sheriff's office had to pay that out of their budget, they'd be looking at an exorbitant amount of cost to have that connectivity. So we do help out where we can. We do provide the services that I did kind of breeze through really quick. But I think that's where we're at. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Appreciate the thoroughness. Ms. Van Hoff?
I just have one more question. The forensic accounting is very intriguing to me. So I just wonder, when you take a look at this, do you know how much is coming from cell phones and how much is coming from?
We do not. It is all proprietary.
So you have no way of comparing where that gap is?
It is all proprietary. We have no idea what carriers are submitting, which amount, and so forth.
To get a check.
And
that has been,
and then the
that's
other
been a question that's been asked of the state for years.
Because that is going to be the key to where you're seeing the gap, I think. And then the other question is, like, a comparison over years. Did you see, like, a substantial drop during COVID, for instance? Because, you know,
no.
I know a lot of people are still working from home.
The drop that we did see was in calls for service for police, fire, 911 calls, that type of thing, because people weren't calling 911 to go to the hospital because nobody wanted to go to the hospital.
Right.
Leave their house. So from a financial standpoint in receiving surcharge remittance, no, we did not. That COVID didn't impact it greatly. There were some, I believe, drop-offs, not necessarily in McHenry County, where if people were unable to, you know, if they weren't able to work, they didn't have jobs, they weren't able to pay their bills, so therefore they may have lost their service. But that's not something that we really saw in McHenry County at all.
Well, I'll be interested to know where.
Oh, we'd all be interested to know.
Where that is.
So,
Thank you.
and again, all 8 counties are kind of in the, across the board. Mr. Kunkel.
So it's kind of troublesome, of course, that the Fox is watching the hen house and they get to pull back some money for their copper too. So that number could be a little bit of variation, but you should still be seeing the same dollars. What we've seen in the private sector, and we've seen this at other times in history when you're as old as I am, we're seeing people pay us, but there is definitely a lag in the time frame because they're making more interest now in their money than they were before. They were giving the money away before because there was no interest to be had. There's interest to be had now. So they're catching up, but it's taking, we're back to that 60, 90, 120, and we had been in the 30, 60 for years through the low interest route. So that's some of that. If so long as the revenues come back, we shouldn't be alarmed.
Correct.
But if they don't come back, then the march on Springfield might be important.
Well, we're marching down to Springfield on April 29th, and I hope it's really nice weather that day.
I'm going to tell you who you want to talk to.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. It was an excellent report. And I think these, sure.
You've given us a lot of good information. Is there any way to kind of, without a lot of work, just throwing out a little bit of the data that you think might be helpful for us?
Sure. And I would ask you to send it to Kathy, and Kathy can send it out then if you would do that for me, please.
It's just if you have it, you know, nothing.
Is by the end of next week okay with that?
Oh, there's no rush. I mean, I just mean in general, sometimes we get a lot of information.
Before Easter.
And we write down what we can.
And we can, and then we gotta go back and read it, so it never works out
People
very
come back,
well.
we can say, yeah, 83% of it's from cell phones, but that's all I can remember.
Right, yeah, so, I mean,
Thank
just a little bit would be helpful, and any time is fine.
And you've just done my little soapbox speech. This is extraordinarily important. I mean, I don't know if everybody understands. Public safety is one of those issues that nobody thinks about it until they need to use it. And then when they need to use it, they want the best equipment, they want the most people, they want 911 to work, they want all
And the most
the timely.
expedient.
And it's our responsibility to have these conversations and to hear the challenges and ultimately to consider those when we talk about our strategic plan and where we want to go. And that was the purpose of doing all these
And
things.
Chairman Altoff was instrumental in the implementation of 911 surcharge back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day down in Springfield, so
I'm a public
she's my hero with that.
I'm a nerd, so
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
Yeah.
If you have any
Very
questions, please feel free to reach out. Our offices are 2 streets over and we're available anytime.
Thank you. Dr. Green, come on up. We're going to get a little bit of an update. You did receive a lot of information from Kathy via email on what's going on in the coroner's office and the update of their expansion and renovation. So we thought it might be pertinent to invite our coroner to come and give us a verbal report on everything that's going on. And cost factors are always really important too.
Did everybody get this? Yes, I brought extras just in case somebody.
We should, yeah,
Was it
Kathy,
in our-
Kathy emailed it out. It was a whole packet of, yeah.
Okay, so it was emailed to us.
Yeah, it was emailed, but do you need one?
No, I'm just
Oh.
wondering, is it the resolution?
The resolution.
It has the resolution.
It has, yeah, the
and
resolution and then all
the summary and kind of the map.
supportive documentation.
Yeah, so, I'm Dr. Reed, I'm the coroner. We had some new people in our law and government here. Anyways, so we've been kind of working, well, Tiki's kind of, she helps us out a lot too. She's kind of,
we provide.
yes, she does. She
network
provides
connectivity
stuff for us
as
as well and things of that nature, so. But this project's kind of been going on for, 2-3 years now. And we started, with this is kind of during when we were going through our accreditation process, we were kind of looking into this and what we needed to do to kind of upgrade our office area, the morgue. The building was built in 1986 and really not a whole lot's been done down there, for the past 40 years and stuff. Obviously, we've grown in that nature, just in population base and things of that nature. I will say that when they first did it, they did it large enough, which was good, so we can do the remodel within the confines of what we're looking at. Obviously, this has been kind of on my agenda, along with the accreditation, other things that we needed to do in the coroner's office. We've implemented a lot of different things in the coroner's office, policies, procedures, vehicles, things that, we just bought our last vehicle, so now every year that we buy a new vehicle, we'll be selling one, and we'll be selling it at pretty much at the same price that we're probably buying it for.
And how do you pay for those vehicles, Michael?
Out of our coroner fund.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry.
So it doesn't
Wait, then
come out of the
doesn't come
general
out of
fund
the
at
general
all.
fund. Thank you.
So all 4 of those vehicles were paid for out of the coroner's fund, not the general fund.
Thank you.
What you have in front of you, a couple things is that when we first came to the board, the board allocated $700,000 in 2023 and 1.5 in 2024 towards this project. So which is a total of 2.2 million in that area. There was a couple things that when we first presented, as far as we were going to do, we were expanding the cooler and the freezer. So the thought process at the time was to build stackables so it would be more confined and things of that nature and use the space more. However, those are more expensive as well. After looking and going over things, you can see in the picture now we bought gurneys. We're going to buy gurneys instead of the stackables because I think we can get away with that as now. And then if we need to, we can buy a section and put it in. If we need to expand more, we can kind of expand as we need to go along. So that actually just by doing that, cut the cost about $50,000 as well. One of the things that we're doing is putting hard flooring in our office area and the common areas, the hallways and the front area and things of that nature, and the carpets will go into the office areas, just they keep a little warmer because we're kind of down in the basement and things of that nature. So, also, when I was going through the accreditation process and I got the DOJ grant, I did kind of add in there some of the cards that we need for certain areas that they're not using now, but I knew when we were gonna do this project that basically it's kind of thinking ahead. I used that DOJ money for that because these key cards are like $6,000 a door. So, so I use those. You'll see them as the CRs on here, and where they're at and things in that nature. So, so basically, we're really kind of moving, at least in my thought process, is kind of the last phase. We're still going to be doing some things. Also, I think you guys, the last board before we're working on our emergency and disaster plan more. It needs upgrading and overhauling, and we're working on that this year, next year, and working with EMA and things of that nature. One of the things we're doing is getting a trailer. There's one in the supplementals, but that's coming out of the coroner's fund as well. Going on to kind of the summary thing, there's a couple of what do we call them?
There's base bids, and then there's 6 alternates.
Alternates, there we go. So, went over with Pete and Carrie and Scott and things of that nature, and we kind of came down to a couple of alternative, well, one we're kind of taking out, which is alternate 1, the air handler. We're replacing one of those because we're getting a bigger cooler and freezer, so we need
something to accommodate
in short term. So we have to upgrade that. So the second one is kind of for the office area. Wold came back and they said, it's kind of at its end of life time, but Tom was like, we really don't have any problems with it and things in that nature. So I'm like, that's fine, as long as they're comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it, it's fine. The other two that we're kind of looking as far as, the board is the wall tile and the ballistic areas and things in that nature. I think my argument for the wall tile, which will go on the morgue, okay? It'll go on the walls. We have nothing but block walls down there, except for the outer walls that are, drywall. It's, the wall tile also works in a different way. Not only just, it professionalizes the area and things of that nature, but it's also antimicrobial. So it has a purpose to it as well. And the wall tile also is something that we need to do now and not later. Because if we do it later, then we gotta pull stuff out. So this is, because it's going on the walls and stuff all through the morgue area and things in that nature.
Does it stay within budget, Doctor?
Yeah, even if you agree to both of these, it's still gonna be under budget, under the 2.2.
And Mr. Kunkel?
Yeah.
So when all this adventure started out, we talked about this refrigeration system. And at that time, it was, I believe Tom had told us that that system was only 10 years old. Is that not correct? The refrigeration, not the...
That I can't tell.
Not HVAC.
Yeah, that I can't tell you.
It's basically in its half-life, so we are technically throwing out something that has finally come into the point where it pays the county back, where we're getting recouped from it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of wasteful by nature. Was there any thought to, especially because you're doing this modular, where you don't need all this cooler space now, you're thinking ahead in the future
Well, we kind
of
of.
using the existing refrigeration units that we have now.
We kind of need the bigger space now, because basically, we have 5 cots in there right now, 5 gurneys in the cooler. And there has been instances where we've had more people than gurneys.
Instances in like a lot of instances, once in a while, what are we talking about? And I'm not quibbling about that. I'm talking about the idea of the county throwing away refrigeration units that are they're at half-life. That's my point.
I don't think we are opposing that at this point. No.
As far as.
See, Matt, there was an alternate one for $146,000 in air handling units. And to your point, Mr. Burrows says, yeah, it's got some miles on it, but we take really good care of it. It's still working pretty well. Doc Rain has kind of acquiesced and said, yeah, I think we can save some money on this project and we'll keep those units in place. That's alternate one with the line through it.
Right, and I understand that, and I understand the difference between HVAC and refrigeration. I'm talking about the existing refrigeration unit that you're using now. It was my understanding, and I could have my information wrong. Again, I take copious notes, but they get lost in the maze. I thought we were only at 10 years for that refrigeration unit.
And what I'm hearing is that may have been the AC, but can we check that out? Please.
Anyway, that's one point.
These 2 resolutions will go to Administrative Services and Finance next week, and Mr. Burrows will be there for that.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, because I just remember that stuck in my head, and I was thinking that's a big cost savings. Because by the time you take the new refrigeration, the new gurney stuff here, and the larger generator to implement this, if we have a time that goes down, you're looking at $850,000 of this cost just to take care of the refrigeration unit that is only at a half-life in our facility right now. I have to admit, I have not visited the facility. I don't know what size that cooler is, and I don't know the refrigeration unit.
I think he might be talking about when we went in there, because the airflow that was going through there, because it would get, the smells would go through into the health department and things in that nature. And that was replaced.
I was gonna say, can we just get an answer, and can you address that?
Yeah,
when
just
you
let
go
me know
before
on the
administrative
refrigeration, not HVAC.
And I guarantee I'll do that because I'm on administrative services, so we'll get that. If you would address that at those committees,
Sure.
so I can share that information.
Because I'm there too, so that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify
Sure,
with
Ms.
member Kunkel, are you referring to base number 2 and base number 3, those 2 costs?
Correct. Well, those wouldn't be encapsulated. What I was looking at is going away from the stacked units that obviously was a modular unit that took a specific refrigeration unit and going back to a quasi-room unit, which is in layman's terms is a cooler. We could use existing refrigeration capacity to run a cooler of that size and possibly a little bit more without having to have that expense now.
I see.
And it could be made larger again for the future. As we said, the footprint is still there. It's how much we bite off now. And I realize we budgeted 2.2 for this, but everybody else and everything else in the county keeps going up and up and up and up. There is nothing incumbent upon us to spend every time that we've budgeted for things. We should try to save.
About 2.2 million in the capital budget. It's not in your operating budget yet. Right? This is just, it's a placeholder in your capital budget, and we're doing our best to
get it down.
So looking at that and looking at all the peer pressure behind this and how we are spending the money at the county, I'm trying just to not willy-nilly add things to the coroner's office, coroner's department that we are throwing away. That is an asset that belongs to the people of this county on that building that we are prematurely, it's not like all this software we keep buying. I realize that stuff goes out of date before they can get it to the office. I see that all the time. But refrigeration is not so. Refrigeration has a huge front cost, and then slowly over time, like insulating a building, slowly over time, you start to recoup that money back. You hit that sweet spot at the half-life, and for us to throw that refrigeration unit out now, and to do it to the tune of buying an additional generator, buying additional gurneys, and all of these other things, I'm only wondering, surmising, if there isn't a little bit, certainly, and I would be all for cutting almost all the alternatives that are resilient tile flooring makes only sense. You got to do that versus doing carpeting. There are other places to cut some cost here. Epoxy paint is fantastic. That works out great. It's an industry standard. I'd be in favor of all those normal things for cutting. My question was if there was not a larger piece of relief by not putting so much refrigeration capacity in initially.
Are you talking about the refrigeration within the unit? Or are you talking about the power to power that?
The refrigeration within the unit.
I don't think the refrigeration within the unit is being replaced.
Again,
If you can just get
clarify
that,
it?
because I know I talked directly to Tom in a meeting when all this came up about the age of that, and he said that was not aged out of service.
Sure.
10 years stuck in my head.
That's okay.
We can do that, because we're not taking any action
No,
on
no,
this
no,
today.
yeah.
This is just an update, so
Yep.
we'll follow up on that. Mr. Sagar, you had a question?
Yeah, my question is with regards to the stackables. And I appreciate the efforts, Mike, that you're making to kind of keep the costs down. I appreciate that very much. But the question I have is, could we not gain more usable space by inserting stackables there right now into the present units so that we preserve that lifetime opportunity, but yet are increasing our capacity?
Again, if these are cost-saving methods, I think it's something we should at least poke a stick at.
Right.
And I would just ask that we address that. I don't know if you're prepared to answer those questions right now, but if we would address them in administrative services and in finance and make sure that we get that information then out to everybody in this committee, either via minutes or just some kind of a memo. Would that be acceptable?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep, great.
Brett?
Yes.
Okay, and just the other thing, we were talking about the other one, the ballistic area and stuff like that, that I want to put in the front area. We basically just have a sliding glass door, or sliding glass thing. There's really no
Separation?
security thing to it whatsoever, and there's a door right there that enters into our area. We do deal with a lot of people that are distraught, angry, things in that nature in our area. You know, if they come to our office, we try and do everything online for a reason. But if they're coming to our office and things in that nature, depending upon what it is, people handle death differently, you know, from one end of the spectrum to another. And people can get very heated and angry about a lot of things.
And you're in an isolated area as well.
Well,
You're
we're in
not
an isolated area,
well-trafficked.
but we also don't have any security measures in the
Correct.
building whatsoever. So that, you know, I think it's the security aspect of a loan, I think warrants some discussion as far as the need.
Ms. Campbell? I mean, yeah, taking care of our employees and ensuring their safety is obviously top of mind. Ms. Campbell?
So the CR is to get you into a certain place with the tag?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you want, and you're talking about a ballistic, that's a coating on the window, and that's in the waiting area?
Yeah, that's in this purple area up here.
So would there be a need, and you've got a door there, do you have a CR there, or is that locked? Can people?
This part right here,
Not going in.
when we come into the front door, this is a hallway right here.
No, I understand that. I'm talking about from the vestibule into your office
Yes,
area.
yes.
Will there be a key card thing there?
There's one there. Yes. It used to be a lock, but I changed it to this.
Thank
You know,
goodness.
so that was part of the DOJ grant that I got. I installed those in certain areas and stuff ahead of time. some of these areas and stuff like that, so.
Any other questions? Thank you. We really
Okay.
appreciate the information.
Yeah, I didn't.
And the update.
I didn't know it was going to
again,
administrative services. So I thought.
Well, there you go.
So, since this is more of a project and things like that.
We appreciate the updates.
Oh, okay.
All information is extraordinarily important
Sure.
for us to share with our constituents. It really is. So thank you, Doctor.
Yep.
There is no old business reports. Peter, do you have anything that you want to throw out of the? No reports. We need no executive session. I will take a motion to adjourn. Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Kunkel. All those in favor say aye.
So-